Well, there's no denying it. TDX has been super dry lately, mainly because they are focusing all their efforts into the Nightmare mode. And as a result, I haven't really been playing the game nearly as much as I used to, but that doesn't mean I haven't stopped thinking about it. Quite the opposite, actually. I've been thinking a lot about the lore recently, and after consulting my massive TDX lore archive, I've come to 3 pretty insane, but believable theories about this game's world. Bear with me here, they may sound absolutely crazy at first, but if you give me the time to explain, I'll hopefully be able to convince you of at least one of them. I don't really have any much else to say for the intro, so without further ado, just please be sure to like, subscribe, and let's jump into the theories. Theory number 1. Exo Santa is Santa-bot. Exo Santa was the final boss of the first ever TDX seasonal event, being a real interesting threat with the way that he only targeted the strongest towers. Now, for the longest time, I've always wondered why Xenon even bothered to build this guy in the first place. What was the point of building multiple Santa robots just for this occasion? Well, what if it wasn't as random as it seemed? What if I told you that Xenon had built this very same robot long ago, but for a completely different purpose? Yes, that's right. I am here to tell you that Xenon built the Santa-bot from Tower Battle's 2017 Christmas event. Conveniently, this was also the game's first Christmas event as well. Now, why do I think this? Well, there's a few reasons. There are many similarities between the 2 robots that seem to imply a connection between the 2. For example, the fact that they're both robots, the fact that their metallic platings share the exact same texture, their backpacks share a very similar design, and both serve the same function, storing present-shaped grenades. Exo Santa is in many ways an evolution and improvement to the crude design of Santa-bot. Instead of outwardly appearing as a robot, Xenon covered the thing in a thin layer of skin plating. The eyes of the robot have turned from yellow to red, possibly hinting at calamity energy powering the robot. And finally, instead of hulking around a giant clunky minigun, Exo Santa has his miniguns embedded into the robot. Almost every aspect of Exo Santa is made to be a deliberate upgrade to Santa-bot. Now, Xenon being the creator of Santa-bot is all well and good, sure, but why is this actually important? Well, because it gives us a clue into her character, and it fits together another piece of her long backstory with the GDA. Because I think the whole reason that she made Santa-bot in the first place was to locate Frosty's army back in the Tower Battles era. Let's quickly analyze the enemies that appear in the Xmas 2017 event. Of these 6 enemies that appear in this event, 4 of them line up almost one-to-one with other robotic creations that Xenon made, all festive-themed robots with gimmicks. But 2 of them, the Yeti and the Golem, aren't just random. Both bear a striking resemblance to enemies that appear in the 2019 event in Frosty's army. In fact, the Golem enemy is quite literally a part of Frosty's army. We know from the Winter 2024 event that Xenon did travel up north for an extended period of time to both build Fortress Snowland and find Frosty and his weaknesses, so the GDA could exploit them. Xenon really isn't the type to get her hands dirty, and she was likely preoccupied with building the fortress. So I imagine she instead decided to build a small team of robots just to do her bidding for her. She likely modeled Santabot off the GDA's own troops, hence why Santabot bears such a striking resemblance to the Commando Tower. Xenon's robots are also known to malfunction, overheat, etc., especially in this earlier time period. So it's not really surprising that her creations would turn on her, and the GDA would be forced to put her creations down. I especially believe this to be the case given how raggedy and beat up Santabot appears by the time we see him. This all leaves us with one final question. Why the Christmas theme? Well, this is just speculation, but I perhaps think Xenon's thinking was to try and not scare Frosty's army. At this point, she just had to locate them, really, and what's more non-threatening than Christmas? Whatever she did, it seemed to work in some capacity considering that the robot got some golems and yetis to follow it. Or who knows, maybe she's just autistic like Scruffus said. Theory number 2. The Calamity Rocks are actually meteors from outer space. This is probably one of the biggest and most game-changing revelations of the 3 theories that I will present to you today, because if true, it heavily changes a lot about what we know about the Calamity, as well as explains why the GDA and Dr. Xenon seem to have such a large space presence. So one thing that's always stuck out as weird to me is how much the Calamity Rocks stick out from everything else around them. Like, look at this picture for example, or think about any of the other Calamity Rocks that we've seen in the game that are implied to take place on Earth. They are all super out of place. At first, I wrote this off completely until Honey Tea and I decoded the secret message on the map voting area. So quickly for those who don't know and didn't watch Honey Tea's video, which you should by the way, in the map voting area, there's this computer screen with a message from Forge Industries to the GDA talking about a secret weapon. But that message is corrupted. Decoding the message essentially says the following. The XRTN Ether Surge is a monumental defensive system. It has a length of approximately 100 meters and a weight of 5,000 tons. The maximum range of the XRTN's main cannon is 50 to 75 kilometers in diameter, capable of launching projectiles up to hypersonic speeds to intercept, destroy, or disable asteroids through rapid and simultaneous movements. So, the GDA has a device capable of intercepting and essentially defragmenting destroyed asteroids, which means that this has to be at least some sort of common occurrence. Now, let's turn our attention back to these Calamity Rocks. It is really strange how these things are, once again, so out of place in the environments that they are in. Not only do they look out of place, but it often appears like they are inside craters or other points of impact. We also see that, despite the Calamity's invasion being a relatively new thing in the timeline of TDX, there's temples, murals, and a whole religion based around them. Ruins and other things that seem to date back centuries, and even prophecies written in ancient Latin. But why? Well, if these Calamity Rocks have been periodically falling down to Earth throughout human history, it would give plenty of opportunities for religions and cults to be formed because of their strange power. We see, thanks to the Awakened event, that yes, humans have started cults and can be corrupted by this Calamity/Awakened energy. But how did the Calamity Rocks even get to Earth in the first place? And what caused them to be so heavily used as energy during the time of TDX? Well, the answer is, like many other things, the Void. One of the Void's defining abilities is his Meteor attack, where he uses his absurd telekinetic powers to pull meteors out of orbit and rain them down onto the GDA. During the war with the Void, I believe it was he who inadvertently pulled a bunch of asteroids to Earth, which reignited a fascination in its power thanks to Xenon using it for experiments. It would also explain why both sides have such a massive spatial presence. They're both looking for more Calamity asteroids to fuel the war effort. A lot just lines up and it makes perfect sense with this theory. I feel like out of the 3 that I present to you today, this is definitely the one that I believe the most and think is the most likely to be canon. Theory number 3, the Advisor was once the Mercenary Tower. So, Advisor is a pretty big anomaly as a character. He doesn't really have much depth or personality to him, but we know he is important to the lore thanks to the things he says and all the things that Xenon accuses him of doing. She hates this guy, and we have yet to learn what exactly he did, or even catch a glimpse of what he was like off-duty. However, I think this theory may shed light onto a possible darker side for his character. See, Advisor, despite seemingly being a new character for TDX, does appear to have a lot of memories of the Tower Battles era. He specifically calls out enemies in Intermediate and Elite mode, saying that he fought enemies like the revived boss 1 and 2 before, and he reminisces on the similarities between amalgams and lavas. This shows that he has some sort of longer-rooted history with this army than previously thought. But what could it be? Well, I think he is actually the Mercenary Tower, but now ranked up in the present time. Please hear me out on this. He and the Mercenary Tower have pretty much the exact same hat. His main colors are also red and black, which also happen to be the main colors of the Mercenary Tower as well. The white shirt we can ignore because it's not like he'd be wearing the same clothes in the future. It could also explain the advisor's possible darker tendencies that Xenon possibly hints at. I don't think this theory is perfect, but it would make sense as to how the advisor got into the GDA, how he knows so much about the Tower Battles era, and why he could possibly be untrustworthy or shady. Mercenaries aren't exactly known to be the cleanest spring chickens ever, after all. But yeah, that's all I've really got for this video. What do you think of my theories? Do you agree with my points, or do you think they're a bit too insane? Let me know about your thoughts in the comments below, and once again, please be sure to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.
Well, that sure was something. Poor Noelle. He's probably a bit traumatized after that. Whatever. He'll get over it. Probably. Now, where did that portal send me? Oh, God.
A visitor. Greetings, my friend. What's that?
Oh my God, it's the creatures!
Boss, what the heck is wrong with this one? I'm curious.
Okay, but for real, who the hell are you guys? And where are we?
Oh boy, here we go. I'm glad you asked.